He returned to the villa, and as soon as he walked through the door, he saw his wife and her lover playing in the swimming pool. Ted didn't confront them, but instead planned a revenge. At night, when his wife came home, Ted acted as if nothing happened and gave her a warm embrace. But as she turned around, he raised his gun and without hesitation shot her. The gunshot caught the gardener's attention, and he tried to investigate. But Ted scared him off with 3 shots. Ted then carefully picked up the shell, dragged his wife behind the door, burned her clothes in the fire pit, and used hot water to wash away any remaining gunpowder residue. When the police arrived at the door, he was ready to greet them. Ted made a deal with the negotiator, Rob, to put down his gun and have a talk. However, when Rob saw a picture on the wall, he realized that the body lying on the ground was his own mistress. Ted told him that his wife was still alive and immediately sent her to the hospital for help. Before Ted could finish speaking, Rob attacked him fiercely. The police took advantage of this situation and entered the house, arresting Ted. His wife barely survived and was taken to the hospital for treatment. Ted didn't panic, but instead smiled at Rob in the police car. Rob knew that Ted was after him. Days later, there was a preliminary hearing in court, and prosecutor's attorney Willie attended the meeting. He thought this case was a big one and the trial was just a formality. However, Ted's next move surprised everyone. He not only fired his own lawyer in court, but also skipped the preliminary hearing and went straight to trial. Willie was happy because the murder weapon had Ted's fingerprints and his signature on the confession. This would save him time and energy. However, Rob began to worry and warned Willie not to underestimate Ted's cunning. But Willie believed that with these 2 pieces of evidence, Ted would undoubtedly be convicted. However, that night, Willie received a call from a colleague. The murder weapon confiscated from Ted was never used. Willie found it hard to believe because Ted never left the mansion during the entire process from shooting to arrest. The murder weapon must have been in by Ted. The next day, the police sent people to search for the murder weapon, but even though they searched every inch of the mansion, they could not find the gun used in the crime. Willie refused to give up and continued to have the police search. While visiting Ted in the prison, he discovered that Ted knew everything about him, including his credit card bill. When Willie showed no reaction, Ted kindly reminded him to be careful when investigating the case. Willie thought it was interesting because he wanted to see how Ted could deny signing the confession. Ted didn't hesitate to point the gun at his wife because it found out she had been deceiving him all day. He planned a perfect crime to take revenge for himself. During the trial, the prosecutor summoned the gardener as a witness to prove that no one entered or left the mansion during the shooting. The second witness was Ted's wife's attending physician, who testified that Ted had intended to kill his wife, but committed attempted murder due to a mistake. When asked if these charges were true, Ted calmly replied that he had not participated in this case and it was not important. Willie then summoned Rob as the third witness. After Rob described the arrest process in detail, Ted slowly stood up and expressed his opposition. Then he revealed that Rob had been having an extramarital affair with his wife. Everyone in the room, including Willie, was stunned. Due to this disclosure, all the evidence collected by the police was invalid, including the confession signed by Ted under Rob's coercion. In just a few words, the case was completely reversed. Rob was furious and rushed towards Ted. Willie finally realized Ted's power and immediately reorganized and deployed his team. On one hand, he increased the number of chief inspectors searching for the murder weapon. On the other hand, he took people to Rob and Ted's wife's villa to search for clues. Unfortunately, the surveillance video in the villa was too blurry, and the faces could not be clearly recognized. But Willie did not give up. He went to Ted's office to find loopholes, but unexpectedly, Ted was well prepared and made a call at the best time, mocking Willie for coming back empty-handed. Willie had no choice but to rely on his last hope, that is, Ted's wife waking up. However, the doctor gave him a devastating blow, saying that the bullet was lodged in her brain and her remaining life would be as a vegetable. The final trial was held in the afternoon of the next day, and Willie was about to give up. At this time, Rob walked up to him and suggested that he commit perjury. Willie dared not use it because once caught, he will definitely be sent to prison. However, seeing the woman lying on the bed and thinking that the killer is still at large, Willie became entangled again. After a whole night of contemplation, Willie finally found his secretary and handed over the disguised government affairs to him. As he waited for the phone after the trial began soon. Willie wanted to buy some time, but Ted directly applied to the judge that if Willie could not produce new evidence, please release me from baseless charges. Willie did not have time to think about taking out his phone. but hesitated. After a brief struggle, he finally put down the phone and told the judge that he did not find new evidence. Helplessly, the judge had to announce that the charge of attempted murder against Ted was not established, and he was immediately released. The case is officially closed, and people walked out of the courtroom, with only Willie sitting there devastated. Suddenly, a gunshot was heard outside. It turned out that Rob committed suicide due to the exposure of the scandal. Ted walked out of the courtroom triumphantly, while the amnesiac lawyer spent the night guarding the injured victim, praying for a miracle to happen. But what he got was not a miracle, but Ted's provocation. He told Willie to catch him now if he wanted to, because he had the power to decide whether to turn off his wife's ventilator. Willie felt unwilling and tried to find the judge's father-in-law in an attempt to obtain a restraining order to prevent Ted from unplugging his wife's oxygen tube. Unfortunately, he came too late. Ted had already obtained a restraining order against him. All Willie could do was watch the witness stop breathing in front of him. Several months later, Willie was still unable to forget this case until one day, he found out that his colleagues and he were using the same phone. They accidentally changed phones in front of him, and suddenly, Willie understood everything. He immediately understood why the weapon disappeared and why Ted appeared in the villa room. This was because Ted had a gun like Rob's. He first replaced Rob's spare gun with his own at the villa, and then used his own gun to kill his wife. When Rob arrived and found that his lover was already dead, he would definitely lose control of his emotions. Ted took the opportunity to swap the guns back, so the real weapon was always carried by Rob. The truth is revealed and Willie immediately went to confront Ted, but Ted remained calm. Even if what you say is true, what can you do to me? However, Ted did not expect that Willie had figured out a way. Although he could not appeal the charge of attempted murder, Ted unplugged his wife's oxygen bottle, leading to her death. So Willie may file another charge and sue him for murder again. As for how the gun was switched, as long as they compare the bullets left in his wife's head, the truth will come to light. So Ted was sued again. Couldn't escape this time.